Bharat, hi, good to have you with us. How have you been?
I'm being good. I've been good, Ashu. How are you?
Doing very well, Bharat. It's good to have you with us. It's a pleasure to
Thank you.
host you for a session.
Yes.
This is one I've been looking forward to, right? And that's
Right.
largely because edtech is something that has seen a massive surge in the last 2.5 years, right?
Right.
And I think the beauty of it is that especially the upskilling space, right? The way models have kind of evolved, right? So on one side, you have these models which are which continue to offer this variety of courses and where consumers are or talent is kind of going in and buying these courses and upskilling themselves, right? And then there is a newer version of it, right, which come in, which isn't dependent on based on income share agreements, right? Making it very, very exciting at many levels, right? Which is more performance driven in many ways, right?
Right.
You're kind of championing that cause, and I think through the course of the conversation, we're going to understand various nuances of this particular market, right? My sense is, I think this is just so incredible and disruptive in many ways, right? That a large part of people who are on the other side, right, who continue to sort of take these courses, will shift over, will cross over, right?
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk about all of that through the course of the conversation. Bharat, I'd love you to quickly introduce yourself, and we move into discussing FunctionUp.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ashu, for having me on the show. I am just for the audience. I'm Bharat Gupta, co-founder and CEO of FunctionUp. We are a skill tech platform wherein we run multiple placement bootcamps and we get people skilled and we get them placed in top global companies.
Amazing. But I'm gonna, let's start from the beginning, right? Now, what we've seen is a massive rush in this market, right? Especially in this entire, like I said, right, this entire spectrum of upskilling, right? You have larger players, you have massively funded players, a couple of them are become unicorns in the process and all that, right? Now, in a market like that, right, you're trying to carve out a niche for yourself. How do you differentiate yourself? I mean, what's the core offering? Where do you stand in that, the entire, the cacophony, right?
Right.
Which you kind of see in the market. How do you look at stuff?
So if you look at the entire market, right? So there are, people call themselves skilling, etc. But there are very few which are focused on outcomes, right?
Sure.
We are absolutely focused towards outcome. That only if we achieve an outcome, which is a job for a candidate, is when we will earn money, right? Hence our business model, which is pay after placements, right? We don't charge anything until somebody finds a job. Right? So pay after placement is a very good way to absolutely focus on the outcome based education, right? And what we've observed is that there are courses, there are certification courses out there. People spend a lot of money to do it, but ultimately they're not skilled enough to get a job. We work backward. We say what is the skill required in a job? Let's teach them, let's get them skilled there. And once we succeed, if we are doing a good job, only then we'll charge money. So I think we have reversed the the edtech model, and we've said only we'll charge money only when people are successful. And it has been going really well for us, right? So we are able to bring in results, we are able to bring massive change in people's lives, and which is very heartwarming as well.
Interesting. We're going to talk about some of that in just a bit, but I'd love to understand, for example, when you're doing something, of this nature, right? Where you're in a way kind of absorbing the risk of a candidate, right? Where you're saying that, your ability, or you get placed, and that's essentially when you start to sort of, start monetizing that entire engagement, right? That you've had for a reasonable amount of time. Now selection becomes very, very important, right? Now the biggest of all problems is when I look at a lot of these these people, right, who are taking these courses right by some of the other platforms that continue to offer many of these data sciences courses and tech development courses and so on and so forth, right? Now the biggest of all problems is a lot of them are doing it to sort of as a mention on their resume, right, on possibly their LinkedIn, right? It gets them certain some of those brownie points, right? The quality of absorption is still a question mark, right? Selection becomes very, very important, right? Now, with what you're doing, I'd love to understand, right? How are you possibly or doing that efficiently, right? Because any drop in that, which essentially means that you are letting go of your revenue, right? There's you're taking a hit on your books, right? Would love to understand what's the thesis there.
Right. So, the way we do it is, so we have a very stringent selection criteria. We select the top 2% of the applicants that come to us, right? We don't think, we are very background agnostic, right? You could be coming from a comms background, you could be coming from a science background, right? You don't need to come from a very, well-off to-do family, right? What we look at is your motivation to change your career. Are you hardworking? Have you shown academic excellence in the past? Any area, right? And how good is your learnability? Can you learn some things quickly, right? We are a platform which is absolutely agnostic towards any background, etc. Right? But what we want to look at is, we will do the hard work. Can you do the other part of the work, right? And that's we do through multiple tests and multiple interviews, and we select the top 2% of people who come to us, right? With the top 2%, we actually do a very rigorous, intensive program, right? It's not easy. See, understand, to learn a hard skill, you need to put in those hours, right? Correct. There is no two way about it. There's no shortcut. Hard work is the only way. Putting in the hours is the only way, right? Sure. And if you're cut out for it, you do it. And only then we are able to produce, best of the results that are there in the industry. We actually have the best course completion rates. 80% of people actually complete the course, right? And if you look at some online courses, right, the course completion is as low as 3%, right? So getting smart people and getting them to complete courses has been a big challenge, and which is what we've been to overcome. Hence, good results. And so of course, selection is a key criteria, right? What we remove from our bias is, people who are not able to pay, right? I've seen people who have 6 lakh rupees, 8 lakh rupees loan, education loan after graduation, and no job. Right? Colleges are not helping them, right? And now for them, it becomes even more difficult to go to another course, buy another certificate, get them a job, right? For them, actually, we are like the best option. And these are very talented, deserved candidates, right? Where the colleges fail them. And this is where we come in and we help them.
Interesting. Bharat, I think I completely resonate with what you're saying, right? And I think India is a market where you need a play which is as powerful as the one possibly that you're building at FunctionUp, right? And that's largely because we have this massive gaps when it comes to distribution of wealth, right? A lot of people who essentially want to pursue a better career do not have the means and ways to sort of go and fund their education, right? And that's where you come in and you kind of fill it in, right? Now, on one side of it, Bharat, it seems to be a great fund, right? Because there are many households who continue to sort of deal with this problem, right? Now, the other challenge is that when you're dealing with only 2%, or you're choosing to kind of select only 2%, right? You're kind of narrowing down that market for yourself, right? You essentially and consciously take a call where you're really limiting the possibility of how you want to engage with this audience, right? Does that makes you? Is the TAM even exciting enough from that standpoint? What's your maths around that?
Right. I get this question a lot, Ashu. So, people ask that only if you're selecting 2%, then how do you manage to scale a business, right? Look at this from this point of view, right? There are at least 3 lakh job vacancies open right now, right? But people are not skilled enough to fill those vacancies, right? So there is enough demand out there, right? Now the question comes from supply of people, who are they people skilled enough, right? Now there are about 2.5 million engineers, just engineers graduating every year, right? And about top 20,000, 30,000 engineers get these jobs, right? What about the remaining, the next 30,000, right? They are not able to crack these jobs. Not because they're not smart, it's only because they don't have the right skills and the skills to crack these interviews and jobs, right? So this is where we come in, right? We select the next best 30,000 students where we add a lot of value in their career and help them crack these jobs which they deserve it, right? It seems like the top 2% is only we select 2%, but if you look at it, there are about millions of people who apply, right? Non-serious candidates is something that we want to avoid, right? People who are not, if you can't help yourself, we can't help you. That's the philosophy, right? We seriously believe that people who are willing to work hard, we will put in additional effort for you to change your career, right? And that's why what we do is we select only the top motivated ones. And there's a large pool of deserved candidates, right? Who are there, and there is large demand. There's a massive demand for techies, data analytics, UI UX product, multiple job openings. There is a need for finishing school like ours who bridges this gap, right? And this is where we exist, and this is where we want to add value to people's life, right? 2% is, I understand that it looks small, but look at the scale of graduates in India, right? And even at 2%, it's a massive number to be achieved. Right? I'm talking about 10. I'm talking about 10 million graduates a year, and in the top 2%, you got 2 lakhs. So if we can change even 10% of those 2 lakhs, I think we've done a great job.
Interesting. Bharat, I'd love to understand, what are some of the programs that you offer, right? My understanding at this distance is that, these are programs that are largely towards coding, right? More focused towards tech. Is that a fair understanding, or there are options beyond that as well?
We started out with engineering first. What we've observed is that in early careers, there are jobs in analytics, product management, UI, UX, where we could skill people to a certain level and help them bridge that gap, right? To where they are at and where the companies need them, right? And we felt that apart from engineering, there are other areas of work where we can add these, right? Analytics, and we're starting with digital marketing soon. We will be probably entering into front-end engineering as well. So early careers, you see that skill requirement is very low. Is what is essential to get a job, right? And it's not just in engineering; there are other areas as well, right? And we felt that with our pedagogy, right, with our processes that we've been able to build, right, which essentially gets outcomes, right, in people's careers, is we can replicate those in other streams. And hence we started out this going well. We started out with UI UX, we started out with analytics. We are launching a cohort in product management, and we're very excited, because the kind of people that we've got, the kind of companies are also excited to hire people from our boot camps. So our pedagogy extends from engineering to other technical fields.
Very interesting. Now, Bharat, you continue to call yourself, in a way you position yourself as a bootcamp, right?
Right.
That essentially means that, what you're essentially offering are very, very short-term programs, right? Very quick programs that somebody gets in. You quickly sort of hone their, ability to communicate, use the skills that required. What's this? What? And when you say what you say, right? You're essentially looking at motivation, right? What is the level of skill that these guys possess, right? Are these guys who are almost 80% there with their skill set and just need that quick hand-holding of sorts? Because if you're talking about that, then again, it's a very, very different market that we kind of you're talking about, right? That's number one. Number two, if a candidate is motivated enough, right, already has 80%, is 80%, 75, 80% there, do they even need an ecosystem which needs to come in and, when they need to pay, right? If not now, later, right? Because at that level of motivation, an individual can continue to learn, right, enough from a lot of freeware which is already available in the market. What's your sense?
Exactly.
How I would love to understand.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought this point, right?
Sure.
If you look at people, right, let's say recent graduates, there are all things that we teach are freely available, right? There are 1,000 things on YouTube, on Udemy, on Coursera, sure. They're free. But there are two problems here. One, of these 1,000 things, you can't do 1,000. You have to select 50. What are these 50 things that you need to do? There's somebody that you need to guide you to do these 50 things and actually be useful to a company, right? What we do is we work with companies, we understand from fintech companies, health tech companies, pharma companies, IT consulting companies, that what is the skill that you require, right? For example, fintech projects need to be done, they have to build in a certain way. We know that if you do these 50 things correctly, right, and do that right, you are good enough to be employable, right? Okay. You don't need to have theoretical knowledge of 1,000 things. You just need to focus on 50 and get them delivered, right? So there's an element of guidance which is needed, right?
Sure.
That, somebody has to tell them, hey, you can't do 1,000, you have to do this 50. That's it. Right. And you have to do this right. And then you sit for placements and you actually make a difference in your career. That's where we've come in. Second, I think when you talk about motivation, right? Whenever you see a tough topic coming in, motivation drops. In online coaching, in self-paced course, right, such as Udemy, you will drop off. If you've hit a hard problem, you will tend to drop off, right? Very few people continue to cross the path even there's a hard problem, right? You need external push from mentors, from family, from your teachers to take you off that bridge that you cross, and you cross that tough topic, right? For example, when we teach a tough topic, we have additional mentor hours provided to students, right? So that they ease into a topic, right? So self-motivation will only get you so far. You need external help, right? To cross that bridge to learn to cross that bridge of higher level skills, right? You have to keep jumping into higher levels, and you need additional efforts to do it, right? Your motivation can get you to work, right? But to understand, to cross that ledge, I think there is mentors are needed, right? Which is the second part that we actually help in, right? That whenever people stop in terms of motivation, right? We come here, we give them support, we give them not just technical support, we give them moral support, right? If they're not able to do well, then we have people coming in, guides come in from our teams that talk to them, understand their problems. If there's a family problem, right? They've missed a topic, there's a family problem, we solve those as well. So two levels are essential, right? Motivation and the guidance to do these 50 out of those 1,000.
Interesting. But I'd like to understand, what are the typical price points of these the programs that you offer? And second, what's the outflow like, right? Because you're working on income agreements, right?
Right.
And I think you've taken a base engagement rate of about 5 lakhs, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
And you can help us understand that better.
Right.
What's been the impact, right, of these programs? I mean, what's been the the abilities? Right. Somebody's getting, say, 4 lakhs or 5 lakhs, right? After going to a boot camp at FunctionUp, right? What's been the impact?
Absolutely. So as you rightly mentioned, right? So we take money only when somebody earns about 5 lakh rupees per annum, right? If let's say we've not been able to get somebody a job like that, we consider that our failure, and we don't ask them to pay money, right? Typically, what we've seen is that more than 80% are able to find of the batch is able to find a job good enough in the first 2 months after graduating itself, right? So people have been able to graduate well and find jobs. For people who are not able to do it, right? So from our bootcamp, you will not see anybody not finding a job, right? People find internships, you will find good jobs, right? It's just that they are not able to cross that barrier of 5 lakh rupees per annum, right? Which is where they don't pay, right? Which we are okay with. Ultimately, they're able to start their careers and we push for people to get their career started. Even if it has a low CTC, we push people to get their career started, because in 1 year they can expect higher raises, etc. And that is when these guys will come and start paying the fees, right? In terms of fee structure, what we do is we take about 17% of the starting monthly salary for a few months, right? 17% of the starting salary. Even if the salary increases in 6 months, 1 year, we don't increase our fees. It's fixed 17% from the starting salary, which is where we take our credit from. When their career path progresses, when they do their next hike or they move on to a different company and their salary increases, we don't take credit for that. We take only credit for people where they've started right out of the bootcamp, which is 17% of their starting salary. That's how we work, and this is typically a set standard.
Interesting. Bharat, what are the price points, right? I mean, of these courses that you offer, what are the price points like?
So right, so people pay up to a maximum of 2.95 lakhs is what the maximum they have to pay over a period of 3 years, right? Which seems very nominal because they pay on a monthly basis somewhere around 7,000, 7,500, right? Which is lower compared to, because with starting salary maybe let's say 60, 70,000, but as they move forward, their salary becomes 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh, 2 lakhs in a couple of years, right? And the amount that they pay is very nominal, right? So our cap is at 2.95 lakhs, right? The reason is that, it seems high, but the kind of mentors that we get, the kind of tools that we use, we don't, cut costs there. We get the best mentors. We get the best kind of tools that people need to use to learn, right? And we don't save money there. We give the best experience to students, and hence, the kind of fees that we charge is what it is.
Interesting. Well, I'd like to understand, right? What percentage of, for example, the audience that you tell, right? What percentage of them are first timers, and what percentage of them are already in job, right? Who are upskilling themselves and to get a better possibility for yourself, right? You give us
right.
Right.
So close to 60% or 65% of people are actually people with prior work experience, and they want to move to a different side. They could coming from QA, quality assurance, could be coming from sales, could be coming from other backgrounds, but they want to move their career to tech, right? Or a career which is technical in nature, such as data analytics, right? The remaining 35%, 35-40% is recent college graduates who've graduated from engineering, right? they didn't get the desired results from their college engineering, and about 40% are recent graduates. That's the mix that we're working with.
Interesting. Well, I have a bunch of other questions, and mostly in the competition side of it, right? Because this is a market which is linked with a lot of advertising dollars, right?
Right.
But before I do that, I'd love to understand this, right? Now, with the current situation that we're in, right? The economy's kind of slowed down. The global macros are not necessarily looking at the time, right? There's literally a freeze on hiring, right? I mean, startups were hiring right to consent. I mean, we were hearing of bizarre salaries that were being offered, right? Which essentially means it was a good time for you, right? In that sense, because you basically are looking at that entry point of 5 lakh and above, right? Which was not necessarily very difficult to get, right? In a very positive momentum, economy, right? But last couple of months have not necessarily been very good, right? The anticipation and the understanding is that this is something which is going to continue for a much longer time, right? We're not necessarily very clear in terms of how, this is not one crisis. This is many crises which are now kind of colluding into each other, right? And becoming one massive sort of problem area, right? So the winter is here, and the winter is going to be longer than we forecast, right? What is it that you sensed? And the other trend which is also sort of picking up, Bharat, is that a lot of organizations, especially in the last 2.5 years, right, have made gig as a reasonable percentage of their, for example, their strategy of hiring and all of that, right? In an environment like that, what happens to your growth plans at the first?
Right. So I'll answer this in a couple of ways. So of course, the new people reading news, it's very discomforting that recession is coming, and people are firing, right? If you look at it, recession. So startup ecosystem is in the Indian economy is a large ecosystem, but it's not the only ecosystem, right? Recession coming in US will mean more jobs coming to India, right? People cut costs in US, they hire people in India. They move to Eastern Europe or India, right? Eastern Europe having the political instability, a lot of jobs coming to India, right? That's the trend that we see, right? Of course, those days where, there were insane salaries, right? Those are gone, right? There's market correction that is needed, right? Of course, these market corrections were important, right? It was just frenzy, right? But now it is corrected. It is at a level where it's understandable, right? But that does not mean that there are no jobs. There are a lot of jobs. We worked with close to 500 plus companies, and they're still hiring, right? And each one of them have at least 5 openings, right? So the job market is there. It's the craziness or the frenzy that has gone away, right? And there are a lot of quite positive trends that have moved from, which are working in favor of India, right? US jobs in US coming to India. Devs of Google, Uber, Facebook, Microsoft have set up their dev centers in India. Google is setting their largest dev center in India because of cost, right? So a lot of positive factors here. Thirdly, I think India, a couple of months back, all the FII money left from India, right? So India as an economy is holding on its domestic demand. So it's sort of self-sustaining, right? India is just not building for the outside world. India is building for itself. So we are in a phase where we are self-sustaining economy, right? And even then, the recessionary period is not hit, right? So we are in a comfortable position. I am very optimistic about, the next 6 months, 12 months, right? It is worrying for late-stage startups, right, who have not hit profitability but have raised a lot of money. I would worry for those startups. But for early-age startups, for companies which are working profitably, and economy at a large scale, because of large consumer demand coming in, COVID has opened up, right? All three factors will result in better growth for economy rather than a recession, right? And that's what we're seeing in our conversations with companies as well. But the frenzy has gone, but realistically, people are hiring, still hiring, and then work needs to get done.
But we're seeing large scale cutouts, right? Many organizations across without naming them, right? Who used to be or who are hiring the highest have let people go. Now, when we talk of the newer entrants, right, or the ones who are kind of upscaling themselves, right, there is talent which is already available, right, at a better pricing, as the possible experience, right? That makes it a little more complicated, right? So while of course you're right when it's about Indian demand, right, I think the macros continue to be are not necessarily as exciting in the current phase, right? I think we've come through COVID. which is anyway been a very, very difficult type for us, right? But that's a discussion for a different time, right? We'll possibly do it in another conversation that we do. Now, Bharat, I'd like to touch on a little on the competition side, right? Now, with what you're offering, the kind of audience that you're going after, right? That's a much smaller percentage, right? If you look at your competitors who are really upskilling space, right? Who are not necessarily doing, IC-based engagements, right? Are especially out marketed, and then there are people coming in and kind of consuming these courses and things like that, right? Now it's very easy for them to target the audience that you're going after, right? And they can possibly do it through scholarships. They can do, there's a massive amount of funding that some of these guys are sitting with, right? At the end of the day, what you want is great set of students on your board, right? I mean, we see that in JEE preparations, for example, right?
Right.
Eventually, everybody owns the one who's come first, right? You see that in every advertisement, right? Because
absolutely, you're correct on this. Yeah,
that creates a certain amount of virality, right? When that creates the virality, right? It just motivates other people of this player as a more suitable option, right? How do you view that, right? Because that just puts you in a very tricky sort of a situation, a very thin layer, of defensibility. And I could be completely wrong, Bharat. I'd love to understand from you, how are you looking at this at a distance? This is how I see it, right? I'm sure your mechanics are designed to tackle all of this in a far superior way, right? But would love to understand from you, how you're looking at competition, which can move into your space very quickly, because the audience that you are looking at, they're just looking for the same audience, right? This is what gets them more traffic, right? Eventually, because the possibility of getting hired is just so much more, right? Because at basic, force is there. What's your sense of it? How do you see it?
Right. Very insightful question, Ashu. So I'm going to answer it in a way. So you think of it from a consumer angle, right? I'll give you an example. One of the students came from these so-called upskilling certification programs. He got a degree there. He said, hey, I've got a degree. Now I want a job. Hence, I'm coming to your bootcamp for data analytics. I've completed the degree from the XYZ degree course online, but now I don't have a job. I need a job, and hence I'm coming to a fictional school, right? The consumers buy these online degrees to add value to their CV, not to their skills. They are not buying skills. They're not getting skilled because of these courses, because the course completion remains to be very good, right? They think of this as like, I'll pay 1.5-2 lakh rupees for this degree, and my CV will be worth 3 lakhs more. The next job that I get will be far higher in package. That's the view. People who are really looking to get skilled in certain areas, right? For high skill jobs such as engineering, analytics, cloud computing, these are the people who come to us. That, hey, I've got the degree, but I really need to know how to work on it, right? That's the market that we have, right? And that is where we are key. That is where we are differentiating. We don't sell degrees. We said, we will get you skilled. We will teach you how it's exactly done. We will not give you a degree, right? Which is what you probably, and hence essentially from a consumer point of view, it's very different, right? If somebody who is good at it and just needs a degree, probably we are not the right person, right? But you actually need to crack a job and you don't know how to do it. We are the best place to come, right? That's essentially the difference that we bring in, right? And of course, there are competition. People could start in this, right? I'll quickly take 1 more minute and tell you, right? The way we have built our company is completely outcome focused. We select people from a lens that people will be getting placed or not. Our course, the way we conduct the course is absolutely towards practical training, right? You do things on a daily basis, right? You don't mug up books. You don't look at videos as like a Netflix, right? You do things on a daily basis, which gets reviewed by mentors, right? And then we prepare for interviews and placements. We work on communications, right? Everything focused towards getting an outcome, which is a job, right? Compare this to a degree course and an online certification course, right? 70% of the effort goes in selling, right? The remaining 30% goes in just creating video content. They don't care if you're looking at the video or not. They'll give you a 2-degree course completion is about 15%, right? What good does it do to somebody's skill or somebody's, right? So hence we are very different in terms of, from a consumer mindset, consumer point of view, and which is where we will continue to grow.
Interesting. But, doesn't that make your job very communication heavy, right? Because of this entire advocacy that you have to do around what you're doing, vis-a-vis others who are very straight to the point. That's number one. Number two, what's the exclusivity of, for example, all of what you're talking about, right? For example, this mentor base that you're talking about, right? This relationship with corporates that you're talking about, right? Is there an exclusivity to it, or this is a non-exclusive environment that you operate in, right? I'm trying to sort of I mean, I do not doubt the intent with which you're building the business. What my worry is that how do you fend your position as others will possibly start getting into it, right? Does your moat, does exclusivity gets you a moat, right? Is that something which is part of your playbook or not? We'll have to discuss that.
I don't think exclusivity is something that we are even chasing in terms of our hiring partnerships, right? Because companies can expire this thing, right?
Sure.
I think what our moat is the quality that we've been able to establish, right? Quality, efficient system, right? We continue to focus on the quality of education, the quality of output that our boot camps will generate, right? Companies have let go of other boot camps and have hired from us because they have seen good quality candidates coming from our bootcamp, right? So our moat or our defensibility will continue to remain in the quality of work that we do, right? We've built some very solid processes that ensures that people are learning on a daily, weekly basis. We don't just work like a classroom. We have sort of built like a community angle to it as well, right? For example, our senior cohort members will solve doubts of junior cohort members, right? They'll help in their career progression, right? Mentors mentors do not just help in teaching, but they also help in referrals for jobs, right? Companies that come to us, they don't just give us the hire for job, they give us small freelance projects as well, right? So there are multiple areas where we have started to build it like a community, right? And this community of people is talented, hardworking, and career focused, right? That's the community that we've built. That is going to be our key differentiator and defensibility going forward, right? People can copy our processes, people can copy this thing, right? But they will not be able to build the same community that you've built, right? Which continues to grow, right? I mean, of course, you could build your own community, right? But the way that we approach the problem is that get talented people and not just focus on one piece, which is just teaching, but build a community of people that help each other, right? For example, we give mentors freelance projects, right? We do free weekend classes for our alumni. We do alumni meets in Bangalore, we do alumni meets in NCR, right? People get to know each other. It's a very different take on education, right? And something that we learned from Y Combinator, right? Building a community is tougher, but gives more value in long term. And that's what we've been.
Interesting. Bharat, what's been the channel of acquisition which has actually worked for you? Right? I mean, this is, like I said, this is very communication heavy, right? And this is a very crowded, cluttered market, right? With a lot of noise. It's very difficult to differentiate yourself, right? I think I've had the chance of talking to a couple of edtech entrepreneurs, right? I think the maths is very, very simple, right? Raise investment and hammer that market, hammer that improvement, right? I mean, that's largely been that, and I'm sure you know and deal with all of that day in, day out, right? What's been your channel of acquisition which has worked best for you, and what percentage, for example?
Right. Traditionally, edtech has been very heavy on CAC, right? Cost of acquisition. We work on a very low CAC, right? Look at a proposition. Look at it from a student point of view, right? So we tell them that, hey, you'll get a job, the job that is going to pay you a lot, the job that you love to get, right? And we are not charging any fees, right? Who would not want to come, right? But so we get a lot of applications, right? And we process the top. So because of our low CAC, we have the flexibility or the liberty, right, to actually select the top person, right? The way we advertise is mainly through YouTube. We work with a lot of content creators on YouTube, on multiple channels. They talk about us to their audiences, right? And they clearly mention that what we are doing, what kind of students are coming into our bootcamp, and that remains to be our main acquisition channel. What actually has also helped, what has also been working for us is strong referrals, right? 60% of people who actually join our bootcamp have spoken to an alumni before joining the bootcamp, right? So referrals works a lot, right? So we are now getting a lot of organic leads, people coming in organically because they have heard good things about the bootcamp, and they've heard good things about the results that we've been able to get from the bootcamp, right? A lot of organic people come to our websites as well. So YouTube, your age-old Facebook and Google marketing, which is a small part of our overall structure. YouTube remains to be the strongest one, and organic remains to be the second one. YouTube actually helps because people have looked at the video for 2-3 minutes and then come to us, right? They've not just looked at an image.
Interesting. But I mean, I can, this is a conversation that we can go on.
Right,
Right.
absolutely.
There are many nuances, right? This is, being an ad tech entrepreneur, at least in today's time, and especially what has happened in the last 2.5 years, is exciting but extremely challenging, right? We're seeing a very different kind of environment. I am saving some of our, critical points of discussion, right? How you're kind of linking fintech with tech and some of this, right? And I would love to understand a little more for our next conversation, right? And I'd love to bring this one to a full close for now. And before we do that, right? I'd love to understand, what are the next, what is that you're closing this year at, right? What are the next 2.5 years like? You've been for a reasonable time. What's been the what are the milestones that you set? Immediate milestones and 2.5 over the.
So our target is to get. So I'll be very upfront here. So we keep very audacious targets, right? So we want to at least get 1,000 people placed within this year in different jobs, right? By the end of this year. Next couple of years, we are going to take that number to about 5,000, right? Which is a very big feat in itself, right? There are a lot of things that we are observing from company side. There are a lot of companies are now focusing a lot on practical aspects of life, right? Which is good to see, right? And I think the way we have built our cohorts and the way we built our system, I think we will be able to achieve that number. And focusing on absolutely high skill courses, advanced tech, analytics, data science, UI UX product, mainly advanced level skills, and about 5,000 people is the number that we want is target by the end of financial year 2023.
Interesting. Super, Bharat. These are some standard targets that you've set for yourself. But I think India is a market which is, I think gives you that opportunity, right, to aspire, right, and grow and engage. But this is an absolutely spectacular session, right? And like I said, right, there are so many other nuances to it which I would love to cover in the conversation. But I'm saving some of that for our next conversation, hopefully soon. But thanks so much for doing this. It was a pleasure to host you in this conversation. I think what I'm particularly what's heartening to sort of know and see is this entire partnership model of sorts that you're kind of creating for the masses, with the market, right? I think this is something which is just so much more needed. And I think especially in the time that we are in right now, right? While on one side we can continue to deliberate and debate on how the market's kind of playing out, recessionary, non-recessionary, all of those points. But the fact of the matter is that I think you are building a model which is that of trust, right? You're building a model which is that of where you're kind of incentivizing integrity, right? Where you're incentivizing honesty, right? Where you're incentivizing focus, right? And that just becomes so much more important in a market which is growing in limited means and ways, right? And my point is with as you want to achieve bigger success, engage more people, empower more people with right skills and education, right? And they grow in that in their careers. I think that's going to in turn impact the economy at a very different level, right? So in a way, you're playing a very, very important role, right? You're being a catalyst, of change, which I think is just so much more important and powerful at the same time. Bharat, it was spectacular to have you. Thank you so much for being a part of it, and look forward to having you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having a conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bharat.